The Empowerment Show aims to equip individuals with the necessary tools, knowledge, and confidence to make informed decisions and take control of their lives. It also focuses on ensuring access to essential resources and the opportunities.
All right, all right. You know, I always start off by saying ashe, ashe to all the people out there. And today we're going to talk Politrics. 5 o'clock, time to rock, Tuesday. And this is what we do. This evening, I got my host with me and he does his thing. So let me bring Mr. Man in, Mr. Ron. His name is Mr. Ronald Yates. What's happening, brother?
Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm well. Ashe.
Brother.
Man, I'm going to tell you, this has been a rough week in politics because a lot of things have been going on. It just things that are just driving me out of my mind, man, with these soldiers on the ground out there in all of the cities and doing all the havoc that they're causing, with the police going out of control. I was watching a video of this police officer who was trying to arrest a young African-American woman. And he was beating this woman like she was a man. I mean, he was punching on her and he was putting her in a chokehold and all kind of nonsense. I had Miss Diane Butts up. I was about ready to bring her in, see what she wanted to say, but I think we might have lost her. So just give it a minute or two. She'll probably come back. Yeah, but let me tell you about this woman, man. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm telling you, I was with my wife and we're watching this and I'm getting angrier and angrier and angrier. So I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, as angry as I'm getting about what's going on in around us, other people must be getting angry too. And I'm just waiting for the big explosion.
Was that the incident in Florida?
Yeah,
in front of the school?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I did see
in front
that.
of her kids, in front of her kids, man.
Yes, I did see that. And it is a disturbing video. And of course, even though it is captured on video, will there be any consequences for this officer? Because basically, this was a parking incident, right? A situation where she parked in front of the school. And, how do you get from that, a minor incident like parking in front of school to let off our children, to the fact where physical force is being applied? She's being taken to the ground forcefully and essentially assaulted by this officer. I mean, what justification could there be for that level of aggression if it just starts out as a simple parking situation?
This is what I could tell you, brother. What I saw, I think if I had been there, I think I might have tried to intervene. And that would have been a problem because I probably got arrested or shot or something like that. But the way that he was beating on this sister, man, I mean, he was punching her like if she was a man, just punching her. And then he had the nerve to seem to get pissed off after he threw her on the ground and was putting her in a chokehold, damn near lifeless. After she squirms out and pushed away, he gets mad because she's retaliating because she's getting her ass whipped.
And of course, according to law, state law, federal law, even Constitution, you have a right to defend yourself. Just like you have a Second Amendment right to bear arms, you have a right to defend yourself against an unlawful arrest. And if there's no probable cause to make an arrest, if there's no warrant that has been issued, then you have every right to defend yourself. Now, if that had been a man and a man defended himself and knocked that officer into, the following week, well, of course he would be arrested when the other officers responded.
And I'm going to tell you, if that had been a man, he probably wouldn't have did that. Because, guys that do things like that, man, they're punks. This is obvious when them guys used to get his ass whipped when he was a kid. And now he gets a badge and a gun and he thinks he's more than God. And he can go out there and do those type of violence, especially since Trump has given the okay. You got to remember that.
Well,
he's given the okay to do that.
Well, I'll tell you something, right? History is repetitive. So during the 30s and into the 1940s, Adolf Hitler and other autocratic leaders gave permission for things like Gestapo, the secret police, and other entities to go around and just abuse people.
Mm-hmm.
But after the fall of the Reich, what happened to those people? You no longer had protection from the Führer or the Chancellor, right? Now you have to justify your actions to a very angry group of people, who remember the abuse that you heaped on them for years. And the same thing is going to happen here in this country. What's happening right now, it's a phase, really, right? Trump is 79 years old and in clearly decline in health, mentally and physically. No way this man can go on for, he talks about maybe being president for life. No way. His life ain't that long. He's got a hell of a lot more life behind him than he has in front of him. So for those folks that are, Trumpaholics, just understand something. All that Trump is doing right now, well, what happens when the other party wins? When the other party decides, I'm going to prosecute those who are my political enemies.
But that's not what we do. I'm not, when I say we, I'm talking about the other party. The Democrats do that. They don't look to go full force like the Republicans do.
Well, you got to understand something, right? And I might have mentioned this on a previous show. Thomas Jefferson started a party in 1792 called the Democratic Republicans. They started out as one party and they never really broke apart. Seemingly they do, but this is what happens every election cycle. So right in the last election cycle with Biden and Trump, the people, for the most part in this country, were angry and dissatisfied with the Democrats. So they left their wife and ran to their girlfriend, the Republican Party. And when they get mad at the Republican Party, they're going right back to their wife, the Democratic Party. And when they get mad at that wife, they're going to run back to the girlfriend. All you're doing, you're not changing anything. The names on the door change, but the policies remain the same. We're not changing anything by voting out the Democrats or voting in Republicans. What are we really doing? What policies are changing? Is the value of the dollar increasing? Are jobs coming back to America? Is the economy improving? Are we safer? No. All this is smoke and mirrors. They point the finger at each other, but let's be realistic. Like the other day, there was some theatrics. I saw Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah.
Yeah, the press conference where he said, "Say it to my face."
Say it to my face. Yeah, and what's that going to do? So what? Well, you say it to my face. Nothing.
And let's be realistic. One of the number one recipients of monies from the Israel lobby is Hakeem Jeffries, right? So come on, they're both taking money from the same people. The oil lobby, the Israel lobby, and a bunch of other lobbyists, right, that have their hands deep into the pockets of our elected representative. And it don't matter which side of the aisle you sit on, money is money. Money don't have a name. So, we get mad and we think we're changing something by voting out one party and putting in another. It's the same party. It always was.
Right now, I tell you one of the things that got me pissed off, especially since you brought up about the Israelites and the Jews and Israel. Yeah, we give them probably trillions of dollars a year, because I know there's mayors of towns that actually donate money to Israel. Our federal government donates money to Israel. Apex money to Israel. Now here's the kicker for me. We don't have enough money over here so that our people, the American people, the ones that we love so much, we don't have money to supply them with universal health care. healthcare in this country is going down, 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 and the price is going up, up, up. We don't have the money to pay for education in this country because the price of education is going up. But we're sending trillions of dollars overseas to these people. They don't pay for education in Israel. They don't pay for medical in Israel. You understand? They get all
Sure.
this for they get all this for free, or I don't want to say for free, but they're getting it all off the backs of the taxpayers' money, which is us. And what are we getting in return for it?
A hard time. You know, do you remember the comedian Robin Harris?
Right.
Robin Harris had a joke. He said, "Cost of living going up, chance of living going down."
Right.
And that's exactly the situation. Cost of living continues to rise. Chance of living, if you have some
Hey,
sort of
Ron,
major
I
health
think you
crisis,
got somebody at the doorbell. At the door.
it
Yeah, I
sounds like
think
you got a
somebody's
visitor.
there. Let me see. Oh, hold on. Let me see who it is. Hey, how are you, young lady?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I had to fight to get in this door.
Understand you had a couple of issues trying to get in, but you're here now, so we're actually glad that you're here. So I was going to introduce you, so why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, I am Diane Butts, and I'm the founder and CEO of A Joy Divine. A Joy Divine worked with women of color in order to teach them how to find peace, joy, and love in this world that is has lost its mind. And so here I am. I'm so happy to join you, brothers, today. And I say to the audience, Ashe.
Ashe.
That's it.
Ashe. Thank you for coming on. We truly appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. I feel blessed. I'm honored to be here with you.
I can tell you, in this climate and this atmosphere with this administration, you have a hell of a job ahead of you. Sounds like there's a big hill for you to climb.
Yeah, but that's all
Ron
right.
and I, we were just chopping it up about what was going on as far as us sending money, our monies, our taxpayers' dollars that we spend every year. Trillions of dollars goes to Israel and those countries, and they don't, their kids go to school for free. And if they get sick, they have universal health care. And we've seen over here, they want to defund Medicaid, they want to defund Medicare, they want to defund Social Security. There's not enough money so we could have universal health care or free education. What do you think about that?
You know, it's really a shame. I was also listening to them talking about sending 20 billion, is it, or 10 billion over to Argentina, and their money is failing, and so we're going to prop up a country that we don't even know is going to be solvent. We may never ever see that money again. So it's not a loan; it's a giveaway. And you have farmers over here that can't sell their soybeans because of Argentina has taken over the market from China. China was the biggest buyer of soybeans. So now who's selling them to them? Because of your president, I'm not going to call him yours, the president, Argentina has taken over the market. So here, they're a competitor of our farmers, but yet we're going to give them all these billions of dollars in order to be solvent. And our farmers are over here struggling trying to sell their crops, but we're undercutting them. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
I'm just wondering, when are we supposed to make America great again? I'm just, because it doesn't seem that way. It seems like with all the things that are going on, I feel like if there's a war against America.
Against America by America. It's a war against America by
It's like
America.
There's a war with the troops in the cities, especially the urban cities, is pretty much where they're going to. The attacks on immigrants coming into the country. As far as anybody's concerned, they're all illegals because the Supreme Court says if you have a certain accent, then we can go ahead and lock you up. So they already said it's okay to profile you. So I'm just wondering where are we headed, Ron? Where the hell are we headed in this country, man?
Well, I'll tell you something, right? All of the major civilizations fell from within, not from without, right? What happened to the Roman Empire? It wasn't external pressure; it was internal. What happened to the English Empire, right? The British Empire. It wasn't external forces, it was internal. And the same thing is happening in this country. It is not external forces, it is internal that is
You mean
causing
the
this
enemy
country to
within?
collapse. I'm
Sounds
sorry?
like the enemy within. Sounds like the enemy within.
And it is. That's exactly what it is. It is the
Have you
enemy
noticed?
within.
Have you noticed with Trump? Now, every time he accuses someone of something, I believe he's talking about himself. I mean, I can go all the way back to where he was blaming Obama for the birther thing. Now it's coming to find out that Trump actually wasn't even born in America. That they're finding reports out that he actually was not born here, that those papers were drummed up. And the person that knows most about it, she ain't here no more, which was his ex-wife. She suddenly up and died or whatever and disappeared. Okay.
Mhm.
So like I'm saying, every time he says something about someone, you can just take the finger and point it back towards him.
Mhm.
Every time. He calls you a liar. He calls you a thief. He calls you a rapist. With the 5 kids in the park, right? Lock them up. Put them in jail. Anybody that says, what was the other one? Anybody that pleads the Fifth Amendment, they're guilty. So I'm saying everything he says, he's pointing right back to himself. That's how he is. He's telling you who he is. You know?
But yet, people voted for him.
Mhm.
That's
And
the part.
that's another thing about the voting
That's
form.
conundrum. That's a conundrum we have to solve, because if people keep voting for people like him, where are we ever going to be? And it's like they have forgotten about what America is supposed to be. And, I had a bunch of folks that I had met from New York, and they were all saying how they had money in their pocket when Trump was in office the first time. And I was like, you do know it was a pandemic, right? You do know those were stimulus checks. You do know they gave them to you because they were betting you would not spend, you would not save them, you would not invest that money. You were going to spend every dime you got, because that's what poor people do. Poor people feed the economy. And so if you don't understand why you were getting those stimulus and you think you're going to vote for him, you'll have more stimulus money, you're about crazy. And so we're not educating our people to be good citizens anymore. We're not doing it. We don't do it in the schools. We don't learn civics. We don't really learn history anymore. They combined it into social studies. And so we're not educating the electorate. So how are they supposed to know who to vote for? How are they supposed to know what issues are affecting them? I meet so many people on the street and they don't even know, they don't think voting matters. If you don't think voting matters, you need to take a look around and read something. Read some, anyone. If you don't want to read the New York Times, find a book.
This is not the day and age of people actually picking up a newspaper or things anymore. And it's more or less the social media that's taking place of that, especially when it comes to the youth or younger people. I mean, even when I say younger, I mean even 40 years old, they're reading their paper online. So they're getting a lot of their information online. And online, there's a lot of propaganda.
Say anything.
There's so much propaganda. There's a lot of lies and propaganda, and people believe it. It wasn't so much that people voted for him; it was that they didn't vote at all.
They didn't vote at all,
and that was what the problem was. That hurt us tremendously. If you want to say it, because the young lady, she seemed to be qualified enough to me. Okay. To me, anybody more qualified than a jackass should have won. But but it didn't happen that way because people did not vote.
You and I had this discussion before, right? And I mentioned the fact that I didn't vote in the last election. And my reason was simply because I didn't want to vote for anyone who I thought would continue this war, not a war, but a genocide in the Middle East, or what's called the Middle East. I have been supporting a family that is inside the Middle East or inside Gaza, who has been trying to survive, a struggle to survive, for months. In fact, more than 2 years. They've lost everything. And the only support they get is the money that I'm able to scrounge up and send them, which sustains them through these long months of genocide. So I couldn't vote for either party, which I believe is one party. It started out as the Democratic Republicans. And, we keep telling ourselves that there's a difference. If you're being fed and receiving money from the same groups, the same lobbyists, how much different difference can there be? Anytime there is a war, both parties decide to sign off on it. Both parties said we need to go and invade Iraq. What threat had Iraq posed to us? Both parties said we need to go and bomb away in Iran. What threat had Iran posed to us? Now, when it comes to America, right, I think that for us Black folks in this country, we need to understand something. And I'm not a religious person at all, but I do think some things make sense from a biblical perspective. And the Bible talks about the descendants of Israel be given a land flowing with milk and honey. That was their inheritance that God had given directly to them. Some of us seem to be under the belief that America is that land. America is quickly becoming a wasteland, what's called a third world country, because of the pressures from inside. It's not the external stuff. It is us, what's going on in this country. And it's only going to get worse. What can we expect to inherit from this country? After this man is finished, what will be left of our treasury? What's in Fort Knox now? What can we expect in terms of educating our children to compete with those from China, with those from Africa, some of these emerging economies in Africa? What about the Indians? Most of our IT people are coming from India. Our children can barely read and write. Look at some of the test scores in some of these inner cities. What do we hope to accomplish in America? What's going to be left of this country for us as Black people?
All right. Well, it's about time for us to take a little commercial break. So we'll be right back in about 30 seconds. All right. Well, that was about IQs. If you hadn't got a chance to get down there, you can get down there and you can sit back, and it's a family type of restaurant. When I say family, I mean adult family. I don't mean little kids, but he has them in there from time to time. But pretty much it's about the adults. So if you're an adult, you had a hard week, you had a hard day, you feel like you want to sit back and enjoy a good hand rolled cigar, come on down to IQs. Ron, that's one of your spots.
It is. I've known Q for many years, and it's a good environment. You know what I mean? Friendly environment. Q and his wife, great people, take care of you, make you feel right at home.
Yeah, they're having a big event too, just to let you know, on the 18th. So I think starts around 2:00. Of course, I have to be there because got to do my photography thing. But so let's get back to the problems at hand in this country. So Trump is definitely a problem. We understand that. And as you said, us as African Americans, this is not new for us. This is not our first go round. Right. I mean, we've survived so many things in this country, and I believe we'll survive it again, with or without the government's help. Unfortunately, they want us to emulate. That's where the segregation came along, and then we started to emulate. So they wanted to say we were one people, one country, but yeah, it didn't work out that way because other people got resources. We didn't get any resources, and when it started coming time to look for a scapegoat, we was always the scapegoat. Like you say words like crime, right away, it's a Black person's face that's attached to that. You say welfare, it's a Black person. So we have always been at the brunt end of all of this, and we've always seen to come up with our heads up and make something happen. Like right now, what I see is by us, we introduce ourselves, we say Ashe. Do you know how many people now I hear actually say that when they introduce to each other? So it's kind of making me feel like, remember back in I'd say 70s, and we walked up to each other, what's up, my brother? Happening, my sister? And this is the way that we addressed each other. And now we've come up through the 80s and 90s, and they go, what's happening, my nigga? it's really changed. So they've gone from being black to being niggas. And I always tell you, you can't be black and a nigga too. And if you're going to be black, that makes you a part of the global majority. So us being part of the global majority, we're going to survive this. The next administration will come in. They'll want to make some changes. Hopefully, it's better for us. But yeah, think things are going to change, and we'll survive. What do you think about that, brother Ron? Okay, Diane, Miss Diane, go ahead. I see you.
Yeah, because I had this bubbling up in me. I think America believes they had positioned us to be the perpetual underdog and the perpetual underclass. But see, we have gone and exceeded that. We are among the most educated people here. It is not the folks from India. It is us, Black folks, Black women in particular. And that's why 500,000 Black women don't have jobs right now, because there's it's not backlog. I want backlash, to try to hurt us, because we are among the most educated in this country right now. And so I think you're absolutely right. As long as we continue to fund and donate to our own institutions of higher learning, and support them by sending our children there. And I think at one point we had kind of gotten away from that, because, you can go I went to Rutgers. So you go to Rutgers, you get more money than if you would go to Spelman or Howard. But that's changing. People are sending their children, and their children want to go to historically Black institutions of learning. I think that we have suffered and gone through so much in this country that if anyone's positioned to succeed and overcome in this climate we have right now, it is us. And folks will be looking to us. I saw people, Latino women on the internet crying, hollering for Black women. Come on, you got to help us. You got to help us. You can't just sit back and not help us in the struggle. These people are after us. And it's like, well, we were trying to help you, but you didn't understand. You didn't understand what we were doing when 92% of us went out and voted. And the people we were voting to help went ahead and did something different because they didn't believe this Black woman was qualified. Okay, so what we tried to save other folks, but we can't always save people. And so Black women kind of say, okay, y'all go ahead, we're going to do us over here.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, without the Black woman, us as Black people, we be so way behind. I don't even know if that freedom nonsense would have came about if it weren't for Black women. Well, I mean, we got to where we are because of Black women. I mean, a lot of men don't want to admit that, but I know history. I know, especially in here, I understand what Black women mean to us as a culture. So that's why I don't want us to separate. I don't want us to become segregated amongst ourselves. I want the Black women back. Right. And this because the Black woman is part of the Black family. Black family, that's the earth. We are the earth. Okay. So we need to come together like as one. And the Black people is going to believe we should,
but I also believe there are other Black people out there. I went to Colombia and I went to this town, Palenque. Palenque is established by people who were enslaved, brought to Africa, to Colombia by the Spaniards to work. And after about a few short years, they were like, no, we ain't doing this. We out. And like, I can't remember the leader's name right now, but he took like 40 enslaved people and they wouldn't establish their own place. And 400 years later, it's still surviving. They have hardships, but they're still surviving.
I'll just give you an example because my man, I can feel he got something to say, but I'll just give you an example of what I mean.
I'll be quiet.
Okay? When we talk about strong leaders and those that are leading us to go somewhere, on the man's side, on our brother's side, we got Hakeem Jeffries, right? And his thing is, say it to my face. On the woman's side, we got Jasmine Crockett. Who do you want to lead you? Yeah, my point. You get it? My point. Go ahead, brother.
Here's my point as it relates to leadership. None of them are qualified to lead Black America. Not Hakeem Jeffries, because he's one of the #1 recipients of money from the Israel lobby. As for Sister Jasmine, she's becoming ineffective because she's the only voice, right? The fact of the matter is, and I've said this to you, Kendall, do you think the Creator wants us under either the Democrats or the Republicans? God did not create us. The first expression of the human family on this planet was black men and women. We were the gods and goddesses. And now we sitting under the Democrats and Republicans being told that you need to follow one of these people that's lost themselves? No, we are spinning our wheels. All they're doing is leading us further into darkness. We need to be heading in the other direction. We've always had a leader. We've always had a spiritual connection, but we've allowed it to be broken. And because our spiritual connection is broken, we're being led astray by people who have led us astray for hundreds of years. And we talk about being a savior to Hispanic women or any women for that matter. We ain't even a savior to ourselves. My mother used to say to me, and let me just say this, it's been 5 years since my mother passed today. But my mother used to say to me, charity begins at home. I can't take care of my neighbor's house if I can't provide for myself. And for black folks in this country, we're not able to help anybody until we get ourselves together. Dr. John Henry Clark said, as black folks, we got ourselves together and then we took our show on the road and we took civilization around the world. And now here we are, the authors of civilization, with our hands out asking someone, can you help us? Things that we can do for ourselves, things that we have demonstrated the ability to do. We're sitting around waiting for some Democrats or some Republicans to give us the okay. We don't need them.
I don't ascribe to that. I don't think we're waiting for them to give us the okay. I think they need us. They need us. We're not waiting for them to give us the okay. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this. I think back in the 60s, maybe 40% of black folks were living in poverty. That's not true right now. That's not true. So we have already overcome a lot of these things with the leaders or without the leaders. We're already doing us. We own homes. We have businesses. We're sending our kids to our own institutions. We don't have to depend on America.
Why are we
America's never given us anything. America's never given us anything. DEI was for white women and veterans. Okay, it wasn't helping us.
So why are we backing either the Democrats or the Republicans? What do we need them for? Because all they do is change places. You talked about the 60s. Well, in the 1960s, it was the Democratic Party, the Dixiecrats, that said segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And those were the Democrats. And now it switched places. It was the Republicans who were the party of Lincoln. It was the Republicans who were the party of Lincoln. It was the Republicans who said, we're the abolitionists. We want to end institutional slavery. So all they do is change places.
Right? They do change. But right now it's the Democrats. Right now it's the Democratic Party where we have the most ability, where we have the ability to work within the system. I don't know what else there is. There's Democrat, there's Republican. What third party has ever moved and obtained any ounce of power? What third party?
My point is this: to hell with the party. We're not partying. This is not a game. We have never prospered under the Democrats or the Republicans. And that's why I said, we, the originators of civilization, what are we doing under somebody? God gave us this knowledge, this wisdom to lead, not to follow. And we're following people.
I'm going to intervene. I'm going to intervene. Hello, Ron.
Yes.
Diane, I'm going to intervene. So, when we talk, I always tell you, I always hear what the problem is. I always hear people where they complain and they can tell you what the problem is. My deal is what we need is a solution. So I don't want to live on the problems. What I want to do is figure out how are we going to solve this problem? You know, you see me bring youth on here because there seems to be a disparity between the elders and the youth, as they don't respect each other. So you see, I bring the youth on here, I bring the elderly on here, so this way they can talk it out and see what the heck their problems are. Just like when we do here with politics, we want to give everybody's point of view, and then we want to figure out what's going on and how can we solve the problem that's there. So that's the main thing. Not to disagree about a policy or whether you should or you shouldn't, but the main thing is that how we're the elders now. So now the youth are watching what we do and how we deal with certain situations. When I talked to the youth told me they were pissed off at the elders. You know why? They were pissed off because they felt like the elders didn't take care of them, like the elders lied to them. The elders talked a lot of stuff, but they didn't do anything. So I don't want to be one of those elders now that I'm an elder. I want to be an elder that brings us closer together as a people, so that we can I guess monolithically explore these problems and then handle the problems. Like the Jewish people, they do it quietly. You never hear about them, but they get shit done. And I'm sure they're not monolithic. I'm sure they have problems. I'm sure they argue amongst each other, but they don't air their dirty laundry. You dig what I'm saying?
You know what? I think one of the things we need to do, we need to get ourselves together, and we need to start doing things for ourselves, for us, by us.
Mm-hmm.
After slavery in this country ended, if you want to say it ended, it really kind of morphed into something else. But when the plantation system ended, we went out without anyone's help and we built cities, thriving communities, started the HBCUs. We didn't rely on no party to help us. We didn't rely on anybody but ourselves. And this is what we accomplished. We had the Black Wall Street, we had Rosewood, and more than 100 other thriving cities and locations in this country without anybody's help. Right. Now we are asking and have been asking the government to help us.
Well, I can explain a little bit of that because
more than $1 trillion passes through the Black community every year. If we took just 10% of that money and invested it in our own communities, and let's say we took another 5% and invested that in growing economies in Africa, like Burkina Faso, like Niger, like Mali, like Nigeria.
Right. But what I can say about what changed between now and then, what changed between now and then was so much of the attitudes of people. You have to remember, during the time period that we had the Black Wall Street and we were doing all these great things, Rosewood, and we were building and building, we weren't allowed to go on the other side of the track. So we had no choice but to work together. We had no choice. If we didn't build, then it's either you fall or you rise or you fall. So if we were going to rise, then we had to work together. Matter of fact, we were forced to work together.
If you think about
wait. Once integration came in, which I actually call it emulation, because a lot of us left. We left our neighborhoods. We went to go live in places where we were not accepted. People didn't want us to live there. We started going out to other schools. We started, I guess, what you would call becoming America. And then America started, I guess, put it out there that all of us were Americans. So we didn't get any of the resources that we should have gotten. And now we're at a point now where we've lost all our money at HBCUs, where they're being defunded. So, and they're taking our books out of school and they're saying that you can't do this and you can't do that because it makes you woke. So this is where we've come to. You dig what I'm saying? This is our fork in the road right here. Well, what do we do from here? We used to teach our own children. Are we going to do that?
History is cyclical. It comes in cycles. And when you said that we didn't have a choice years ago, what choice do we have now? The people that are being rounded up by ICE look like you and I.
Yes, sir.
The people that are afraid to go to work, afraid to take their children to school, look like you and I.
Yes, sir. But again,
the history that is being erased, the museums that they want to close,
Yes, sir.
museums for people that look like you and I.
Again, like I said, it's because a lot of us have emulated. We have bought into this American that
and we don't have a
American,
choice anymore. We don't
that
have
our
a choice
culture.
anymore but to
Remember,
work
we were
together.
talking the other day. Well, I think one day we were talking about the American culture. There is no American culture. The American culture is a bunch of cultures brought together. So we as Black people, we got to remember that we have our own culture, and our culture goes way beyond slavery. It goes way, way beyond slavery. But these things are not being taught to us. They're telling our kids that we migrated here, that there was no such thing as slavery.
Well,
So
but that's my point.
Changed.
No one is going to tell our story, and we have to stop relying on them to do it. They're not. It's not their responsibility.
Ron, I disagree with a lot you said, but you just said something right there. Our story is ours to tell. It should never be left to anybody else. I did not have Black history taught to me in school. My mother taught it to me at home. My mother bought books. She made sure we read those books. I was in the 5th, 6th grade reading Richard Wright and other great Black authors. You had to know about this stuff because it was important. But then again, my mother came from Jim Crow South. She made sure I never lowered my eyes when I talked to a white person, because you're just as good as they are. And so don't you ever lower your eyes. You look them in the eye and talk to them. Be respectful, but you look them in the eye. Don't you ever bow your head. Don't say ma'am to them.
You know, I always tell you, you know what I tell you, Ron, I couldn't read or write till I was 14 years old, about 13 or 14 years old. And that's because I have developmental dyslexia. It's a learning disability. But every one of my kids will tell you, I always had a library in their room, and that library was filled with nothing but African-American books, nothing but African-American studies. So my kids can tell you about our history, and not just here in this country, but because I believe we're Black, that makes us a part of the global majority. There's more of us in the world than anybody else. So we're a part of that. And I believe we need to learn about that. But that was up to me. I thought it was up to me to teach my children about Africa. And by me teaching them, it also helped me to learn a little bit more, because I wanted them to know more. So it put me to go do some research, to research all of these things, you know, all the different people throughout history. And then I could go ahead and teach it to my children. And that's what I mean, us as elders, this is what we need to be doing, is passing this information down to the ones that's underneath us. Because I tell you, they're pissed. They don't think we've done anything.
And you know, you're right. But here's the thing. How do you erase a people from history and a people is still there? The idea is to erase the history and the people as well. We are in a war for our own very survival. Yet we are so divided. Christians can't sit down with Jews. Jews can't sit down with Muslims. And this is just Black folks. We can't agree on nothing, right? How can we fix what's broken with America? We can't even fix our own internal issues.
Again, here we go back to history, man, because
But
history,
again,
you know,
this is a fight for our very survival.
Right.
Trump is putting these troops into urban centers. And he's not doing this by accident. He knows exactly. This is calculated. This is something that has happened before. If you look around New York City, we're both familiar with that. Look at the armories located in New York City. What neighborhoods? This is not a mistake. This is because they know a time will come, because you remember what J. Edgar Hoover said? He talked about the Black Panthers. He said, we cannot allow the rise of a Black Messiah that can electrify and unify the masses of Black people. Well, if J. Edgar Hoover knew it, what don't we know?
You know who else is on his most wanted list, right?
Yeah, of course. These are things that we don't know. And we are so far behind the curve, and it's time for us to begin the race to catch up.
I'm sorry, Miss Diane.
I think too there may not be a Black Messiah. but they're maybe we'll say they're Black messiahs in our communities. There are teachers in classrooms in urban areas. There are preachers. There are people out here. There are elder women who are starting organizations and doing things. There are people like, I didn't even know what Loretta Lynch was doing since she stopped being the AG. Guess what? She's out there with fighting for women's justice, because I didn't know this, that women are being incarcerated at greater rates than men, not committing more crimes, but being incarcerated. Because when you incarcerate a woman, you incarcerate a family. And so women, and she's out there fighting the battle against women, making sure that women have what they need so that they won't be incarcerated, because the crimes that women commit are to feed themselves, are survival crimes. And so there are people out there doing it, and I'm glad that they can't identify one person and then snuff out that one person. You're gonna have to kill all of us. There's too many writers out there who are doing and speaking the truth. There's too many athletes out there who are not bowing their heads. There's too many teachers out there and doctors. I'm so happy to have as many Black doctors as I have right now. I am so proud of that.
Wait a minute. You said there's Black doctors around here?
Yeah. I had my PCP as a Black doctor right here down near Smithfield. Yes. When I went to the emergency room,
I'm not saying that there aren't. And I've been back and forth to the doctors around here.
I got a knee guy, Black guy. I'll give him your name. Orthopedic doctor is a young Black man. I'm so proud of these folks. I look for them.
And see, this is what I'm trying to tell you. See, I was trying to make a point, is that we need to pass these type of information on. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, look, you try to find a Black psychiatrist around the area. Now, Ron happens to know one, but there are not many of us. And
right, I just have my nails done. There's a Black woman doing nails privately. You don't have to go in there and be around anybody.
So nobody's putting the information out. I mean, if we're going to try to build a community, one of the things that you have to do is you have to circulate the monies. You have to circulate funds. So we have to communicate in order to circulate these funds throughout our community. Otherwise, the money is going to go outside of the community, and basically with us, because we don't know, we're not informed.
I mean, everybody I tell, but like I'm telling you right now. But my doctor's brilliant. I love her. Natasha Palmer. I love her, Dr. Natasha Palmer. She's a family medicine doctor. My personal trainer is at Storm Fitness down here on 209. Black woman.
Dawn.
Tough, good, wonderful. Dawn.
You're talking about Dawn, right?
Yeah, Storm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know Dawn. Yeah,
Dawn.
So she's my trainer. I love her to death, and she's out there doing it. So there are people
but
that
people
are
need to know. I mean,
that's your homework. That's your homework. We need to start a grapevine.
Right. And I tell you who else I promote: the NCNW. And I've been working with these ladies for quite a while, and I'm talking about a few years. And you want to talk about some sisters that's about doing? Yeah, they do a lot for the community. Matter of fact, this Thursday they'll be at the St. Luke's, where they're doing a fundraiser for breast cancer. I mean, they do quite a bit for this community. Not so much like the NAACP. I'm still trying to find them where they're at. I'm sure they'll rise up again. But in this area, you don't know who the president is. You don't know who this is. And, it's don't say Krista.
But I will say nationally, they're fighting a lot of legal battles on our behalf. They really are. And so, and I had the pleasure of knowing a young man at one time was a NAACP lawyer. He actually, the last case that he litigated for them was the fight to keep the Voting Rights Act intact. But of course, the Supreme Court had other
You're not talking about my people, are you? You're not talking about the first name Brian.
What's the last name?
Stevenson.
No, not Brian Stevenson.
Okay.
Ryan.
Can I ask a question? So when Diane, before you came back on, we were talking about Israel, right?
Mhm.
So, in 1948, the state of Israel was created, right?
Mhm.
Why did they create the state of Israel? Why was it necessary? Was it because they were a people without a land and they were being forced out of their homeland, Germany or Europe, Germany, Poland, Russia, Latvia, Estonia? They were forced out of those places and they had to
Mhm.
establish a homeland for themselves, right? We in America are being run out of this country, and where the hell are we going to go? Where are we going? Because the economy is about to fall flat on its face. $37 trillion in debt. How are we going to pay that? The education system is crumbling. The infrastructure is crumbling. They're rounding us up and putting us in places like, what is it? Alcatraz?
Yeah, alligator.
Right? Alligator
Okay.
Alcatraz. Some of us are being rounded up and sent to other countries, right? Other countries that don't even have an agreement with this country. So we're being forced out of this country. Where are we going? What
They
plans have we
trying. They
made?
try. Did you know lately they're trying to force Burkina Faso to take on the people that they're deporting?
They're
Can you
trying to
believe
send
that?
them everywhere,
They're
all
trying to
over
send people.
spreading us out in
Mhm.
the diaspora. What plans have we made for when this government fails, and it fails us every time? When this economy fails, what are we going to do then? When
Well,
everything in this country falls
I'm gonna
flat,
tell you what I'm not
because
gonna do. I'm not gonna
I
put
have
my
a
head
passport.
between my ass. I'm not gonna put my head between my legs and kiss my ass. I'm not gonna do that.
that's
So
not,
I'm not gonna
no,
bury my head in the
nobody needs to
sand.
do that.
All
But
right.
we need to
Do
have
you
a
have a
plan.
passport?
What are we going to do and where are we going to go? Because let's be realistic. For the people in Israel or the people currently in Israel, these were Europeans. They said we've
Mm-hmm.
got to have a land of our own where we can control the economy, where we can control, you know, our development as a people, where we can have established our culture, our way of doing things. For us in this country, where do we have that in America? And if we don't have it here, where are we going to find it? Because
Well,
we're
I
in a
just can't
fight
take
for
it
our
for granted. It
lives.
sure look like they're creating their own right there.
Well,
Well,
they're
I tell
creating
But
a
I
you,
will.
nightmare for the
I
people
will.
of Gaza,
But
but for
as you're
us,
saying it, the question becomes, and where do we go do that without being colonizers? I mean, I
right.
guess you're talking about claiming a portion of the United States for our own and finding and declaring independence,
Mm.
that would be great.
taking our
Or
money and putting it
we
together,
have an
having our own.
entire, we have
But
an
then
entire
we're
huge
talking about
continent.
segregation again, right? We're talking about segregation again, or a
We
form of
have,
it.
Well, I don't
But
know.
listen, we're
I
so
mean,
glad.
I
segregation
don't.
Okay,
never
party
ended.
people, party people. I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm so happy that you came on, Miss Diane Bus, and you're gonna have to come on again. Our
Okay.
time is running short. We actually went way over. We generally do like a half an hour, but we're here damn near an hour. So
Okay.
we got a chance to pay the bills. I'll take our hats off to Mr. Q down at IQ Lounge, and like I said, you're looking for a good time, a place to relax. That's the place to go. And if you're hungry and you're looking for some soul food, some real soul food, going down to Willie Mays. She's down there on 209 in Gilbert. So you can look her up, and I'm telling you, I go there and they got the fish and grits. And that's my thing, man. That fish and grits, boy. That catfish and grits with some cheese, I'm good to go. All right. So party people, again, I say thank you guys for coming on. And we're going about ready to call this to the end. And as always, we say thank you. We say ashe. And to the guests that did come on today, we say thank you again. And those that decided to tune in, thank you again. Please subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. Right on. So this is Kendall Stevenson and my brother Ronald Yates, and we're about ready to say peace, and we're out.
Peace, brother.